so much for joining.
Thank you. Yeah, my mic is on. Good morning. I'm Louise Burns. I'm delighted to be moderating this panel, and thank you, Charles, for inviting me. This is a topic I'm passionate about, and many people who work with me will know that I go on about it all the time. And I'm delighted to have a great group of people today with really interesting experience to debate this topic. I think what's interesting nowadays is you could say, what is the role of brand in a world of digital marketing? You know, it's so easy now for a customer to search very, very quickly and have a myriad of choices. And in that world where really the top things are availability, price, and location, the brand is often diluted. It's at risk of being commoditized. So what I want to discuss with the panel today is really understanding, what is the importance of brand? To me, brand is a promise of a product or service. And I think, and I think many of you will agree, that in a world of many, many choices, a brand can be a trusted shortcut. So how are these organizations really creating that bond, that trust that a brand gives throughout the customer experience? Because it is a very complicated journey now for a customer through the digital world. So how do you create this brand experience through the omnichannel customer journey, through the whole life cycle? Because what we all want is to reduce our marketing costs, to have as much loyalty and advocacy as possible to bring customers back. So I'd like to introduce the panel one by one and ask them each to talk about a little bit about their perspective on this topic. So firstly, Eliana Athanasiou, we've spoken a few times, I've got that right, who's from St. Giles Hotels globally and is head of brand. She has won some amazing awards, especially focusing on the power of community and social sustainability. So hand over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Eliana. I lead the marketing brand and PR for St. Giles Hotels. Thank you, Louise. As she said, I'm really focused on community, social impact, and what it brings to the hospitality and guest journey. I think more than ever, it's important now that beautiful hotels, beautiful luxury rooms is not enough, I believe, in my perspective, for the guest. And even if you're a 3, 4, 5-star hotel, you need to bring some sort of storytelling and purpose to each of your guests staying in your property, and that's what we have at St. Giles, which we will speak later on. And I'm really excited about today with our lovely panelists.
Thank you very much, Eliana. Can I now introduce Matthew Murray? He's Global Director of Technical Services and Branded Residences at Six Senses. So he's leading the design, architecture, and construction of their portfolio across a global pipeline. So would you like to just talk a little bit about your view on this topic?
Absolutely, and pleasure to be with you all here today, and thank you for the introduction. My role really looks at branded residences globally from a design and guest experience perspective. My background is as an architect, really focusing on placemaking and how we feel that through design. I think really the question for me is, what is the pursuit of the brand? What are we trying to deliver there, and how do we communicate that to a guest? I think in design we find very tangible ways of doing so, but the guest experience is a lot broader than that. It's the operations, it's the activation, and how you create distinction in market. We're quite lucky with Six Senses, we have a very clear pursuit. It's wellness, sustainability, community, and out of the ordinary experiences. The secondary challenge for me is, what does that look like in branded residences? It's very defined within a hotel. The F&B, the farm to table, the sleep programs, the amazing spa, the longevity, the biohacking. But in branded residences, we have been in the process of defining that. And I think we're finally able to show examples to that. But coming back to the question, I think it's very much understanding what is the pursuit of the brand and how you communicate that and create distinction in market.
Yeah. And thank you, Matthew. I think that's a really interesting point, that you cannot see residences as separate, because those customers will move around your whole ecosystem.
It's very true, and I think the thing I always start off when we're talking to owners or designers is that mentality that the branded residential owner in many ways is the largest financial stakeholder in the project after the land investor. They are paying, we're an ultra-luxury brand is how we describe ourselves. These are trophy assets and secondary homes, lifestyle purchases, often between 2 and 30 million pounds. These are extraordinary assets. Best in class is what we strive for, and you've got to deliver something for that. People are paying premiums for branded residences. We need to make sure we deliver something for that.
Thank you very much. Now to introduce Frank Ferry. He's Senior Director of Brand Performance for Hilton across Europe, Middle East and Africa, and overseeing more than 730 hotels and 22 brands, so very much operating at scale.
Yeah, thanks, Louise, and great to be here. So we're Hilton. Globally, we operate already 8,600 hotels. We have 24 brands, so really operating at a scale. Here in EMEA, we just launched our 1,000th hotels earlier this year in spring. We launched 2 new brands as well, the Spark by Hilton, which is a focused service brand, which opened already in several key markets like Poland, Austria, Germany. But we're also going to launch Tempo by Hilton, a new affordable lifestyle brand, later this year. And I think with Hilton, when we operated so many different brands, we kind of need one North Star, like a unifying purpose for all these brands. And nobody said it better than our founder, Conrad Hilton, many years ago. He said, our mission or our vision is to fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. And that's kind of, no matter which brand you work, that's kind of the North Star where all our team members are striving towards. And I think that's crafting then a really cohesive brand experiences. On one side, obviously, consistency. So we do have brand standards which help that consistency. But it's first and foremost really creating emotions. No matter which brand you are, we have different distinct brand identities. And at our heart of it all is our team members. And I think it's our team members who create these emotions with our customers, and that's what we are focusing very much on. Chris Nassetta said we are a very customer-centric organization, and this is what we're trying to deliver as well, to really focus on our customer no matter in which department you work for.
Thank you, and I think I spoke to Frank just recently. I thought it was really interesting, and I was pleased to see that Hilton have put the Hilton name against many of its brands, not all of them, but to create that sort of halo effect and that endorsement, which I think is a very positive move. And over to Robert. I'd like to introduce Robert Ali, who's Brand Development Director at Best Western, who joined, I think, in 2000, quite recently, into the brand.
Just over a year, that's right.
Yeah, so I'll hand over to you to introduce your experience way beyond Best Western.
Yeah, there's a lot before Best Western. Thank you. Yeah, Robert, look after brand development for the UK, which means brand strategy, development, quality, growth portfolio plans, and sit on the global committee for brand development as well. So I mean, we've been on that journey a little bit like Frank, and have some time in Hilton. From a heritage brand that's now 80 years old next year, and to 18 brands as it is today. We've got 10 of those in the UK, some of which you probably didn't realise you'd sat in at some stage. So we've been through that journey of everything in one pot, and then this explosion of brands to 18. And of course, that is now a journey in itself in refining what those brands mean in their different markets. We've got 10 of them in the UK, and more than half of those are now soft-branded properties, 231 hotels, and we're already at that tipping point where there are more soft-branded hotels than hard-branded hotels. So we talk about brand, but actually brand for us is often rooted in the local name and heritage and the reputation of that hotel in itself, and that's our challenge, I guess, as a brand engine, is to try and convey something through lots of different personalities and lots of different owners.
Thank you. And I think just to pick up on that, maybe, back to you, Robert. I mean, and also with Frank, when you've got multiple brands and you're operating at scale, with the complexity of owners and investors and, many different layers to this organization, how do you make sure the customer really understands the offer? You've talked about quite a different model than maybe the Hilton model. So shall I start with you, Robert? You know, how do you want to...
Well, I guess my journey starts right at the real beginning. So it is about education with owners and investors. So that's where we have that conversation about what they're trying to achieve and what's the right brand for them. That doesn't always match up at the start of that conversation. So of course it does change in terms of what they want to achieve and what we consider to be the right thing for that brand, and that's clearly a journey. So for me, it starts with that vision and focus on what's the right property. Whether it's a conversion or new build, it's the same. It's just still the same sort of conversation. We don't get the chance to deliver at the end, so we start with the promise in terms of how the customer finds the brand. Sometimes that's directly through us, and sometimes it's through all of the many channels that we know are available. And it's our job to help the hotels find a rhythm and a pattern in that onboarding experience so that they understand where the values are for the brand so that they can bring it to life. Because we don't get the chance to run the hotels. We really are just a brand engine. So yeah, there's a big job in that early education for me.
And what do you think a customer is expecting? You know, how do you make sure the customer knows what they're expecting when they book a Best Western property?
Well, of course, every brand brings its own expectations, right? Every customer's got a view of what's their requirements for that experience, and it changes because sometimes they'll be at work in one brand, the weekend away with another brand, with friends for another brand, on hens and stags, whatever it might be, right? There's lots of different reasons for staying in different brands, so expectations are so varied. You've got to be consistent in how you approach your values and quality factors, if you like, for the customer experience.
Frank, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, and at Hilton, as I mentioned, we have 24 brands, but every brand is really very specific towards a target segment or a customer. And if you look at our brands, we have, for example, the DoubleTree brand. Everyone should be familiar with it. The customers know about the care culture of the DoubleTree, and they know that when they arrive at the front desk, they will get a warm chocolate chip cookie. And it's coming back again to that creating that emotion. And I think as long as we create specific, distinct brand personalities for each brand, and we have that Hampton as well, Hampton by Hilton, which is backed by the 100% Hampton guarantee, that Hamptonality we call it. We provide training for all our team members who work in different brands to really learn the brand identity and the brand culture for each specific brand. And I believe if you really focus on delivering a distinct brand identity for each of these brands, then the customer will understand and will also know what to expect at each of these brands. So that's what we are kind of focusing on, distinct brand personalities, but as I said earlier, all having that unifying purpose of really being customer-centric and being the most hospitable company in the world.
Thank you, and I think that leads quite nicely into this next question, actually. You know, we've talked about the brand being much more than a logo and a typeface, and it's how you make the customers feel, and really a brand is what your customer tells you it is. Really turning to Eliana now, how do you create this amazing customer experience across this whole customer journey and life cycle? You know, what is it that you do uniquely at St. Giles?
Well, back to the point that who we are as a brand and what our core values are and what we believe in. So at St. Giles, we have our own philanthropic arm, Hotels with Heart, which is our charity founded by our CEO and owner, Abigail, which was founded because of to help the community. Hospitality can do much more. We're a family, and this is who we are. I think everybody that's here today, we know that we're in this industry because we love it. So how could we do even more and give some purpose to the hotels and the customer journey? So we partnered, a really nice example, bringing in into the customer journey the charity and what we do. We have partnered with Carefree, a charity which offers free night stays to unpaid carers nationally in the UK. We've offered 300 since I've partnered with them. And it's really difficult for the guests to actually know what you're doing back on the back scenes. It's so hard because they'll miss it on the website. They won't see it in all the steps. We try to add it in every step from a digital perspective, from a tangible perspective. And we've just now decorated our 9th floor corridor with photos of these beautiful carers with their families, telling all the story. So hopefully our guests staying with us will know that this is more than a stay, it's a purpose. That staying with St. Giles is not just a hotel room in the centre of London, it's more that you're giving in and you're giving back. So it's not only beautiful art you see in the corridors, it actually has a beautiful purpose. So I think as much as we can give back and give it on every point of the guest journey, it's just important because you do miss it sometimes. And I think giving back to the purpose and having it as art, putting it on digital, putting it on social, but just telling that story is what's important, I think, to the guests to connect with you and know that they're part of something beautiful.
And I mean, I think it's an absolutely fantastic story. Over time, do you feel you're getting repeat business and you're starting to create a sort of greater connection with customers through this?
Yes, I do think so. And I think with our new initiatives now, like with this partnership that we have, we're doing a panel in 2 weeks, which is open, so people actually can come, even hoteliers or the other charities. So we're not only communicating it to the guests that are coming, we're actually going wider from a press perspective. So hopefully the word is out there and guests do come back to us. And I do feel when guests do understand that they are opting in and they are staying with us and they're giving back, because part of our profits does go to Hotels with Heart, I think it makes it even more special.
Thank you. It's a really interesting point. And over to you, Matthew. I mean, a brand experience, especially nowadays, is much more than, the traditional just service. It's a multi-sensory experience. How are you working to bring that alive for Six Senses?
I mean, it's a really interesting brand in many ways. And perhaps to contextualize it in some previous experience, I spent 4 years at Marriott in collection brands on the brand team. And that was all about unique storytelling connected by shared values. I think it's interesting when you look at Six Senses, there's some resonance with that. Our Dubai properties are going to be wholly different from the Whiteley or our amazing first urban property in Rome. Ibiza feels like an entirely different experience with a recording studio and these sort of caves with an Asian fusion restaurant in. So it's a very different experience wherever you go. Yet you do feel a sense of those shared values. We do control and encourage some of that through design standards, tactile materiality, storytelling of place. But beyond that, it is very much about the service. And I think one of the things connecting to your point about community and giving back, we've got a 0.5% rooms revenue sustainability fund. And that's done everything from clean water projects to rebuilding schools to looking at how we can help endangered species in different ways. And there's some phenomenal stories that have come out of that. And again, we'll define that differently at the Whiteley. So, I think there's some really nice hallmarks there, but I've been quite surprised as I've sort of developed with this brand, how different the properties can feel, yet you do feel that red thread still, which is, very nice.
And is there anything you do post-stay that you're sort of either, or any of you, that you're really trying to keep that brand alive with the customer, even when they're not actually staying with you, when they're spending money with you?
I think for me, probably it's always a little bit more difficult to talk post-stay.
Yeah.
There's a lot we do in terms of tangible activations within the property. We've got an Earth Lab that helps you make your own shampoos and soaps and made out of the sort of productive gardens we have on site. So I think the main thing we're trying to give people is a sense of learning something they didn't know about where products come from, their effect on the ecosystem, the food they're eating, and lessons from that they can hopefully take into that post-stay environment.
So there's a level of enrichment,
That's the
from
hope.
staying,
Yeah,
knowledge and enrichment. Anybody else want to add anything on that, Robert?
The easy answer is rewards, isn't it? And loyalty. I think we probably ultimately I'll get in trouble if I don't mention that.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole value of such a big system, again, Frank will say the same thing. You've got thousands of hotels, is the opportunity to tell all those different stories, different countries, different brands, to an audience of millions and millions of cardholders. So, those are that's definitely a central part of our comms right across through the year, all times.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hilton similar, and I think we have done a lot of work as well on our Hilton Honors program to not only reward those who stay 50 nights a year, but also if you just stay one night at Hilton, for example, we want to make sure that you see instant reward for your loyalty and for staying with Hilton. So a lot of effort has gone into the Hilton Honors program to really reward every customer who stays, no matter if you're staying for one night or 50 nights in our hotels.
Okay. Thank you. And I won't go further on that because I know other topics are talking about loyalty, although I'm tempted to go further. Obviously, when we talk about the experience and the customer experience, we have to discuss data and technology. So, I mean, maybe back to, well, would you like to pick that, Robert or Matthew? You know, how does data and technology make it easier to deliver brand experiences at scale, but also that customers really value? So it's not just brand focused, it's customer focused.
Yeah, I mean, we got loads of data points, like any good business these days. There's a dashboard of probably 50 different things that you can talk about. So it starts a lot of conversations, but at the end of the day, you try and get underneath that. Central to a brand business is measuring customer satisfaction. So whether that's the global QA program, quality assurance program, which is, I mean, for us, it's a singular massive piece of the relationship between us and our owners, in particular when you're looking for the product investment, reinvestment, regeneration and journey, and it's a QA program that's measuring that, and then the voice of the customer sits alongside that. So I think despite any other conversation we might have around commercials and sales and marketing distribution and reward sign-ups and all the other stuff that we do measure, if we're not holding on really tight to that QA and guest satisfaction metrics, which we can, you know, most platforms have some form of reputation now. We scrape all of that data, roll it all in alongside the post-stay questionnaires and all that other stuff to have something that is a centerpiece of your conversation with your owners. So, you know, it's a really powerful thing, and it ultimately starts with the data, but it has to translate into something meaningful on the shop floor with the customer.
Yeah. Should we go to Matthew next? I'll come back.
Similar for Hilton, we have partnered with Qualtrics, and we're scraping obviously customer sentiment during the stay, but also after the stay through post-stay surveys. We're also looking at review sites. So obviously a lot of data comes from review sites, and the aim is to make something out of the data afterwards. And I think what we at Hilton did particularly well is everybody is focused on our customer promise, which is delivering a reliable and friendly stay. And so no matter if you work in marketing or commercial or in operations, everybody is targeted on driving the customer stay. So I think whenever we deliver products, no matter if that's digital key or if it's delivering a new brand, it's all very customer-centric, and everybody has a customer in mind because they know that the ultimate goal is to really deliver a great customer experience.
Matthew, looked like you wanted to jump in.
I did. I was kipping off my seat there. No, we do a very similar way as many of the operators of sort of data influencing our business. I think two of the things I sort of observe maybe stand out of my experience at Six Senses is from a guest experience perspective, every guest or owner coming to our property downloads the app, and they're assigned a guest experience manager. And it's really like a personal concierge in many ways. You've got a direct connection to them. We, of course, put performance standards on all of our hosts to make sure they're delivering that in a timely manner. But it gives you a direct line in a very personable way to any request you might have. And beyond that, I think it supports the physical human connection. So you're not seeing an irate one-word note. You're talking to someone and hopefully getting a resolution to it, which I think has been a really nice way to deal with all sorts of issues and requests in what is a very high expectation, very high service industry. So I think that's been really interesting.
So in a situation like that, are those guest experience managers, or are they being equipped with all the historical data about that customer, so all their previous stays in different properties and their preferences?
That's exactly it, and it's everything from the pillows in your room to the temperature the room might be when you come in there. Exceptional requests included in there around birthdays and special occasions, as many a brand would do. But I think it is, you go down to breakfast and everyone knows your name. and you feel, you know, a little bit special because of that. And it's really done quite consistently. And it's always quite impressive, I think, especially as we're reaching more and more scale across hotels and more and more stays.
I'm going to ask you a question that a couple of my colleagues or friends here will know. How do you stop that being weird and spooky? Because data, you know, data is at our fingertips and we are incredibly equipped. But actually, to walk into a hotel I've never stayed in before and be greeted by name with my favourite juice in the morning can be a bit creepy. You know, so how do you create an amazing experience enabled by technology?
I don't disagree, and thankfully I'm in design and not operations, so maybe I don't need to answer that. But I think I think people appreciate the added effort, right? And that's one way of showing it. You've got to utilise that in a human way, hopefully, that doesn't feel invasive. But I think mostly my experience of that has at first been surprising, but then it's quite endearing, you know, I think, to have that personal service in any hotel experience.
It looks like Eliana, you'd like to jump in.
One thing that I would say is, like, with everything that's happening now with AI and everything, I think the personal touch is everything. The human touch is everything, and I think what we need to hold really, really tight in our industry is that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little bit weird, I like
it.
Yeah, no,
I agree. I mean, they're not coming in and plumping your pillows, so
no.
they've got the line right.
I agree. It becomes more and more also the expectation with AI and technology, and like customers, they expect you to know them by name as well, especially if you're a loyal customer. So I think it's, it sounds creepy, but as long as you bring it across genuinely, I think
in a human way.
In a human way, correctly, I think it's done very well. So.
Robert, last word on that?
I honestly never thought of it as weird before, so that's, you know, as a lifer in hotels, you kind of always made that effort. I'm not particularly great with names either, so when I get one right, it's even more of a tick box success. But I never thought of it as weird. I think it's definitely hospitality. So, yeah, maybe there's a way you could have gone over the top, but I think it's worth trying.
Yeah, I think there is a fine line with data, but I agree with all of you. It's got to be human. There's got to be a human care at the front of it. I'm very conscious there may be questions from the floor, and I can't see very far because of the lights. Do we have any questions from the room? If Charles is in the room, perhaps you could tell me if there's a question. If not, we will carry on. The title of our session is, you know, how do we get this interdepartmental collaboration? So, you know, how do you overcome silos? Because we all have them. And we all pretend we don't, but we all do have them. To collaborate cross-functionally to enable success. I mean, do you want to jump in there, Eliana?
Yeah, from my experience, I've worked for Marriott for 5 years in design hotels, and now I'm at St. Giles. I think at St. Giles, we and before me, they've mastered, like, how they break silos and how they work as a team. It comes from our leader, our CEO, like, they're all here today, and just that shows you that it's because we're one team, we're like a family. And I've never seen it in the industry before. Like, I've seen it really strongly here. And we work as a family, our leader is open, she gives us the power, the freedom to be as creative as we can. And I think that carries down to the bottom. So because we all have a leadership, that we are allowed to do or say whatever we want. And we're allowed to lead, we don't need to ask. So I think it comes from the leader coming down, and then we all have that feeling that, you know, we're creating something, and it's really, really special. So, and we're doing like this amazing idea we had last week, that how,
Apologies.
How can we get more information about more initiatives that we can do through our charity, Hotels with Heart? So Abigail thought, so why don't we do an internal survey, and we want everybody involved. So leave it anonymous, leave it if they want to put their name, so we give the opportunity to someone to speak. Maybe they don't want to speak in a formal meeting. So we're testing this week or next. So yeah, and another thing, all the campaigns we do are amazing, and all the initiatives and all the storytelling, but if you don't involve the teams, the operations teams, it will never work.
Yeah, so it sounds, sorry.
They are the ones that know, nobody else.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a phenomenal culture.
Amazing.
Which
Best.
is amazing. I'm sure you're getting lots of people who want to now work for you
yes.
as a result
and they
of that.
never leave. That's the thing. Like, they've been there for years. And I think that's the most beautiful, it's the culture in the business. And I think you can break silos and say, oh, we'll have this town hall, we'll have this amazing board. It does work, but I think having that amazing family culture is what makes a beautiful environment, and you want to be there, you want to work really hard because you're there all together.
Thank you. Now, obviously, that is utopian. It is, and that's not being critical. When you're operating at scale, I mean, maybe over to you, Frank, how do you create that, you know, cross-cultural collaboration?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bigger the family gets, the harder it gets to obviously keep them together. But I think Hilton in general does a very good job at providing a very strong work culture. I mean, you know that 2023 we have been named as the best hospitality company to work for. Also in the UK, we have just recently won #1 best company to work for. So there goes a lot of effort in empowering our team members as well to really be customer centric and to be aligned with other teams. And I believe silos in general, they come when you just focus on internal efficiencies and internal processes without the kind of forgetting what the external impact might be. And because Chris Nassetta is so focused on the customer and customer-centric, everybody is having the same goal, is to drive guest experience. So no matter if you're, as I said earlier, no matter if you're a revenue manager or a front desk agent or work in marketing, you will have a focus on the customer journey. And by having common goals or shared visions and common goals, it naturally fosters collaboration between the different teams. And I think that has been working very well for Hilton.
Do you have a good example for us? Because, you know, I know I've, as a guest in places, I've observed things where I've thought, oh, that hasn't been rolled out very well. You know, and I'm sure we've been all, you know, have you got any good examples of where you've worked really effectively?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, we've recently launched a tool similar to what Matthew said, guest messaging, where we have the ability now to communicate with our customers through WhatsApp or SMS, which obviously drives a lot of operational efficiency, but also convenience for the customer. Yeah. And when we rolled this out, we did not just ask an operator, how would you want to see it? So we really involved all the different teams, operator, IT, marketing, commercial, to see how we can best roll it out so it works across all levels and it works for the customer, obviously. So, yeah, every initiative we launch, no matter if that's launching a new brand or a commercial initiative or just a technology initiative, we try to involve all the relevant teams and all the team members to really focus on, does it work for the customer and is it helpful for the customer?
Thank you. So I think we have 1 minute left, 1.5 minutes left. Anybody, do you want to just go around? I'll start with you, Robert, on a last word of what, you know, you think is sort of the absolute key to creating this brand success. Yeah, I'm happy just to add to what a couple of the other guys have already said. Obviously, our challenge as not being the operator is to convey the brand. So, and you're definitely right. The bigger scale you get, the more you learn how to solve those puzzles. So we were speaking before about a collaboration, the value of the office. So I think across the teams, even though there are people spread all over the country and all over the world, we've managed to sort of build those checkpoints in. But one of the crazy successes is the WhatsApp group that's currently got 231 hotels plus all the different functional department teams all connected on the same WhatsApp group. I try and stay out of it myself, I have to say, but it's funny how it solves little puzzles, or hoteliers solve each other's puzzles because they've got their experience. So despite trying to build sort of cluster communities in smaller regions and creating the layers of comms that we have, the WhatsApp group has proven one of the quickest ways to just solve things between themselves, which kind of takes some of the pain away for us, actually. Cheap and easy. Yeah. Any other final words?
I might just add to it. I guess picking up on this point a bit, I think, and it resonates with what you're saying as well, of top-down leadership. And I think people buy into people more than they do companies. And you see the effect of a good leader and empowering their people. And then that, in turn, people feel they want to take charge of building that community, empowering those values and all the rest of it. So I think that's been a really interesting reflection from what I've heard around the table as well.
Frank?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It really comes from leadership, and we can see it very quickly in our organization as well. Chris Nassetta, I think, is a role model for all of us, and it kind of just trickles down. I mean, I've worked in, different countries, different continents, and I've always had amazing leaders with Hilton, and I try to pass that on as well to my team. I had a team of over 100 team members in Asia. I have now 20 team members here, and as long as I think your leadership, you continue that leadership, what you receive from above, it naturally flows down to all levels of the organization, and I think that's quite interesting to see.
Thank you. Eliana, anything to add?
No, nothing much, but it was great. And to the point that everybody was saying, it's like the storytelling, the leadership, coming together, building a brand with a strong foundation and core values, and having that culture, it comes through the customer journey. And that's how it is, because the customer journey is pre-arrival, post-day. When they come to the hotel, if the culture's there, if the brand value and purpose is there, the guests can see it and feel it.
Yeah. So, thank you very much. I'd like to thank all my panellists for amazing contribution. And I believe I'm handing over to Emile, who hopefully is in the room. But thank you, Emile. Thank you very much. Thank you.